Chapter 1. In Constantinople, on a bright, chill early morning in June 1914, Hugh Stanton, retired British Army captain and professional adventurer, leant against the railings of the Galata Bridge and stared into the waters below. There was a stiff breeze blowing, and the early light sparkling on the gunmetal river made the choppy crests twinkle like stars. Stanton half closed his eyes and forgot for a moment that this was the mouth of the Bosphorus, ancient sewer of Byzantium, and imagined instead a heavenly firmament, a faraway galaxy dotted with infinite points of divine light, a gateway to an incandescent oblivion. Opening his eyes wide once more, he saw the river for the poisonous shit soup that it was, and turned away. If he ever did decide to kill himself, a bullet would be quicker and a great deal cleaner. The morning traffic creaked and rattled across the newly metalled bridge, and Stanton found his eye focusing on a woman in a burqa on the opposite side. She had been bending low over the sweets and pastries on display at a coffee stall, and now she turned away. A billowing black cloud followed by a small girl and an even smaller boy, both clutching paper bags into which they dipped sugar-coated fingers. Stanton realized, to his surprise, that he was crying. Tears that had been prickling behind his eyes for months were all of a sudden glistening on his cheeks. Those children were so very like his own. Different colouring and clothing, of course, but in scale and attitude they could have been his Tess and Bill. Even the way the little girl put her hand on her brother's shoulder to restrain him at the curb, so proud of being the older and the wiser of the two. That was exactly what Tess would have done. Probably all big sisters were like that. Angrily, he wiped a sleeve across his cheek. He didn't believe in self-pity. Not under any circumstances. Just then, the peace of the morning was disturbed by the throaty roar of an engine as onto the bridge from the northern side skidded an overloaded, open-topped tourer. Stanton recognized the model, a Crossley 2025. Cars were a passion for him, and he knew every British type ever built. The occupants of this one were all young men, well-heeled hooligans on a spree, braying and hollering, clearly still drunk from the night before. Feringhi. Foreigners bent on mischief, coming down from the Pera district where the Westerner was king. Pedestrians scurried for the pavements as the car clattered across the bridge, the driver beeping his horn and shouting as if this busy public thoroughfare were his own private driveway. Stanton heard English voices, merry laughter laced with effortless contempt. They were embassy staff, perhaps, or servicemen in mufti. The British had a lot of military in town, advising the Sultan on how to drag his army and navy into the 20th century, or, more importantly, trying to stop His Munificence from seeking advice on such matters from the Germans. The young Muslim family who had been occupying Stanton's attention were in the process of crossing the street when the car came into view, Mother concentrating on ensuring that the children avoided the various piles of horse dung that lay in their path. Now she swept up the boy with one arm and grabbed the girl with her other and began to hurry them towards the opposite side, a scurrying black flurry of burqa and kids. But then the little girl dropped her bag and, being only about 7 and not quite as grown up and mature as she liked to think, pulled away from her mother to retrieve it. The mother turned back in panic, and now the whole family stood in the path of the oncoming car. The massive machine bore down on them. Nearly 14 feet long and 6 wide, it seemed to completely fill the bridge. Almost 1.5 tons of wood, glass, rubber, brass and steel, A monster, roaring and trumpeting as it approached its kill, the great shining black fender arches framing its huge goggly